Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So we got another Stratocaster series build for you, but this one might be a little bit different. I plan for this one to be a giveaway guitar at some point in the near future, and it'll probably be in a few weeks, but I just want to let you know about that. I still have to work out all the details of the giveaway, including writing up all the rules, and of course actually finishing this build. I had a very nice viewer named Mike who contributed a big stash of parts. And it came with a lot of pick guards, tremolos, and a lot of other small parts. Several of which we're going to use here in this build, and I'll go through what each one of those are. The basis for this build is a Squier Stratocaster SE. As you know, these have a full thickness body, they have a 42mm nut on the neck, and they're just an overall great guitar, and an excellent upgrade platform. This particular SE came to me in pretty rough shape, and I've already done a ton of work to it to get it into the condition you see here. It still needs a little bit more work, and I'll go through what all that is in a moment, but just know that I've got all the little problems that it came to me with sorted out already. Now let me go over what each one of the parts are that are going to go into this build, and I think you'll be pretty pleased. First of all, there's two parts on the body that I've already installed. One of those are some nice oversized strap buttons that Mike donated, and the other part that I've installed is the DIY shielding paint that I've told you how to create in another video. Also, thanks to Mike, we have an abalone pickguard, and I just love the look of these. And I've got some CTS pots and a fender switch. Mike donated every bit of that except for one of the pots, and I have already installed some cloth wiring that I had on hand. So this thing is almost ready to go. Now I'm going to be contributing some black Wilkinson Easy Lock tuners, some black Fender volume and tone knobs, and a set of black Alnico pickups with cloth wiring. Some additional parts that Mike donated are a Fender F neck plate, a Wilkinson M series tremolo, and a Switchcraft jack. And then for the last few parts, I'm donating a bone nut and a black backplate. So you can probably already tell we're going for a little bit of a mix-matched color theme on this guitar. I'm using some chrome parts, some black hardware. There's a lot of black and chrome going on, black and stainless, but I think it'll look pretty cool in the end. And of course, when we do get to that end and we're actually ready to do the giveaway, I'll make sure to post the link to the video where the giveaway will take place in the comments for each video in this series. Like any giveaway, there will be no cost to enter, and that's really the only rule I'm sure about at this point. But again, once I find out what the final rules will be, I will put all of that in one video and we'll run the contest. But anyway, enough giveaway talk, let's get into this build. Something I like to do when I'm building a Strat is put my electronics together right away. So this is my pick guard, and I told you I already pre-filled in the pots. Just a little bit of a closer up view on these. You can see these are actually CTS or Fender pots, and they have the dished bottoms instead of the flat bottoms like the Gibson ones do. I've got an Oak Grigsby style 5-way switch, all cloth wiring in here, and I've done a few things to try to prevent noise, like twisted together the jack wires. And I have all my grounds coming off of one pot. And I've also added a ground strap that's going to connect to the shielding paint on the body. I went ahead and dropped the pickups in here. If you're wondering what kind of pickups these are, I really couldn't tell you because I got them off eBay and I was just looking for a Alnico cloth wired traditional set of pickups, and these fit the bill. Resistance is in the high 5s, low 6s. I'll go through all that once we do some testing. Let's do a little bit of tightening of the wires and then I'll finish up my wiring. Alright, and I can never get my soldering on camera, but I went ahead and soldered the ground wires to the back of the volume pot and of course the pickup wires. I wish the pickup wires to the switch were just a little bit longer, but that's as long as they came from the factory. I tend to like mine to loop down to the pick guard and then over, but this will work out fine. Here's a shot of the front. I'm just about to put the knobs on. There is a little bit of delamination going on around some of the hardware. I think it's just this pick guard. This is a used pick guard, by the way, so there's a couple scratches in it. It's not perfect, but it's just a cool looker, so that's why I chose it. Again, the knobs we're going to use on this are genuine Fender black knobs. The reason I like to use genuine Fender parts is number one, because these are 24 spline pots, and number two, because nothing else quite gets that script just right. It's a little bit smaller than a lot of the copies. And I've said this before, but whenever I install these knobs, I turn all the pots all the way up to 10, then I point the 10 back at the user. All right, let's work on this headstock a little bit. I've already been at work on the headstock doing a couple of repairs. I had to repair this rosewood behind the nut because someone had tried to install a 40mm nut in this slot and they glued it in with some kind of horrendously strong glue. And I think in the process of removing the old nut, that original owner had cracked the rosewood and it was actually a little piece that had come off. So I have glued that piece back in there and I have sanded everything smooth. I've filled the holes for the string trees. I've filled the holes for the tuners, and I've kind of given everything another oil coat. Now this logo is already gone. You can see a faint outline of it, but the headstock has a whole new coat of modern tung oil finish, which is basically a wiping poly. And I think it looks pretty good like this. And as I said previously, I'm going to be using a combination of black and chrome parts on here. So I've got these black Wilkinson Easy Lock tuners that I'm going to install, but I've got chrome string trees. Now you've seen me install tuners before. I'm going to go ahead and put the tuners in these holes, tighten the nuts down so that they're snug, arrange them so that everything's good, and then I'll drill some pilot holes for these small screws. Placing a straight edge along the bottom surface is the best place for me to be able to tell that all of these are in a straight line. Once they are, you want to make sure that those nuts on the front are snug. Another visual cue that you might want to use to determine whether or not the tuners are straight is to turn all the buttons one way and look at the gaps in between the buttons, and that way you can tell whether they're even. But at this point, all of mine are even and snug down, and I've got a drill bit already here ready with the masking tape to mark where I need to stop. So let's go ahead and do that now. There's still plenty of work to do on this headstock, but most of that work can't get done until the strings are actually on. Now I mentioned having done some repairs to the body and the neck before I started. The most extensive repairs to this body have been here in this neck pocket because someone had gotten in here with a chisel and taken out quite a bit of the middle section of this flat area here. So I've gone ahead and filled all that in. I also had to fill in some of the sides because they'd gotten a little aggressive with some sanding, and then I've repainted it all, gotten it perfectly flat again, so it's ready to go. I also wasn't sure when I picked this body and neck which neck plate I was going to use. Now that I know I'm using this Fender neck plate and I'm using US spec screws, I'm glad that I went ahead and decided to dowel these holes in the neck heel, and I'll just re-drill those so that it's just like starting from a brand new neck. I think I showed this on my last parts caster build, but just in case you're wondering how to drill the holes in the neck, I usually set the body and the neck together and hold them with a clamp in the correct alignment, and then I'll use a punch through the holes in the body to mark the neck. Then I'll separate them, drill the neck, and then put them back together for assembly. In my case, I've enlarged the holes in the body to 3/16 of an inch, which is vintage spec and correct for an American Stratocaster. In the neck itself, I'll be drilling 1/8 inch holes, again, for an American Stratocaster. Alright, that little punch, which actually in my case is a nail, will mark those locations and I'll drill those holes in the neck. Now anytime you're going to drill a neck, you want to make sure you don't punch through all the way to the fretboard. And if you're wondering how much to drill through, put your neck plate and your screws through your body and measure what sticks out. Then take that measurement, see how far that goes up the side of your neck, and just make sure it's not going to get into your fretboard. If it is, you're going to need shorter screws, but I recommend checking this measurement at least a few times. After the measurement, make sure you mark your drill bit so you know where to stop. And even better, use a drill press with a stop, but you can do this with hand tools. Okay, we're now at the point where we can mount the bridge, but I'm going to save that for next time. If you remember, we're mounting a 2-post Wilkinson tremolo, and that's going to be a little bit more complicated than mounting a standard 6-screw tremolo. Hopefully next time we'll get into mounting that pick guard finally, maybe drilling the back plate, and I'm hoping we get pretty close to being able to set it up in the next episode. So I think this is going to be a 3-parter. Once we're done here, I intend to set up the giveaway rules, and we'll do a 4th video that's the actual giveaway itself, and I'll give you all the details on how that's going to run. As we wrap up, I just want to say thanks again to Mike for the donation of the parts. As always, I appreciate all the likes and all the comments. Thanks for the subscriptions. I appreciate you guys visiting my Amazon links, and I'll see you guys next time.